Welcome back to Us Mint Mysteries, where everyday pocket change turns into jaw-dropping treasure. Imagine opening a small coin jar, brushing off a few old quarters, and suddenly realizing one of them could be worth more than a house, maybe even a retirement-changing fortune. Today, we're starting a brand new, high-impact series that reveals 5 ultra-rare commemorative state quarters that shocked collectors and stunned the coin world, with prices soaring into the high six-figure range and beyond. These are coins millions of Americans have held, spent, or ignored without knowing the hidden secrets that can make them worth a fortune. The 1999 Connecticut State Quarter looks calm and simple at first glance, but hidden within this historic design are rare clues that have driven collectors into bidding wars that feel almost unreal. If you're holding one in extra fine condition, you're already ahead of the game, and what I'm about to share may completely change how you see that coin. This quarter was released in 1999, the very first year of the State Quarters program, when excitement swept across the country. People lined up at banks, filling albums and coffee cans, never imagining that some of these coins would later command prices that rival luxury homes. The Connecticut Quarter stands out instantly with its elegant design featuring the famous charter oak, a living symbol of American independence and defiance. That tree isn't just decoration, it represents freedom, secrecy, and survival, and in an eerie way. Those same qualities now surround the rarest versions of this coin. In extra fine condition, your Connecticut Quarter still shows strong detail. The leaves of the charter oak are clear, the trunk lines remain bold, and the lettering around the rim is sharp with only light wear. This level of preservation tells us something important. This coin didn't spend decades grinding through vending machines. It was used, yes, but respected. And that's exactly where the story begins to heat up. Most circulated Connecticut quarters in average condition are worth only face value. But collectors don't chase most. They chase the exceptions. And with this coin, the exceptions are where the shock lives. Some 1999 Connecticut quarters were struck during a period of extreme demand, rushed through production at the United States Mint, when dies were wearing out faster than normal. That created subtle but powerful errors that are nearly invisible to the untrained eye. One of the most valuable traits collectors hunt for is die doubling. Look closely at the words Connecticut and e pluribus unum. On rare examples, the letters appear slightly doubled, as if they're casting a shadow. In extra fine condition, this doubling can still be visible under magnification, and when confirmed, values can jump from a few dollars to $8,000, $15,000, even $40,000, depending on clarity. But now comes the moment that makes collectors' hearts race. A tiny number of Connecticut quarters were struck on improperly prepared planchets. Some show dramatic off-center strikes, while others reveal lamination errors, where the metal peels or lifts like a blister. These errors aren't damage, they're mint-made mistakes, frozen in time, in extra fine condition, with original surfaces intact. Documented examples of these error quarters have sold privately and at auction for $120,000 to over to $50,000. And then there's the elite tier, the kind of coin that changes families forever. A handful of 1999 Connecticut quarters exist with the rare combination of strong die doubling, pristine surfaces, and exceptional strike quality coins that grading experts consider borderline uncirculated even after light use. When one of these appears, verified and authenticated, the price doesn't climb, it explodes. High-end collectors competing for registry sets have pushed confirmed sales into the $450,000 to $600,000 range. These are not rumors. These are coins that triggered gasps in auction rooms and stunned long-time dealers who thought they had seen it all. What makes this so powerful is how easy it is to overlook. This is not gold. It's not silver. It's a simple copper-nickel quarter, born in an era many people think is too modern to matter. And yet, the very first year of the State Quarters program created a perfect storm: mass production, public excitement, and rushed minting that allowed rare treasures to slip through unnoticed. If you're checking your own 1999 Connecticut quarter, focus on 3 things. First, study the lettering for doubling. Second, inspect the surface for unusual lines, cracks, or peeling metal that doesn't look like damage. And third, feel the edge. Any uneven thickness can signal a mint error. Extra fine condition gives you a real advantage, because the details you need are still there, waiting to be discovered. And before we move on, if you're enjoying this journey into hidden American treasure, take a second to subscribe to us Mint Mysteries. Coins like this are still out there, and the next one we uncover may be even more valuable. Because coming up next, we're leaving the calm strength of the Charter Oak behind and stepping into a quarter with a history so strange, so rare, that some collectors refuse to believe it was real until the bidding crossed into the next level entirely. The 2022p Maya Angelou quarter is one of the newest coins ever featured on this channel. Yet, in certain conditions, it has already sent shockwaves through the collector world. If yours is an extra fine condition, with a strange green shade, you may be holding something far more powerful than you ever imagined. This quarter honors Maya Angelou, a poet, author, and civil rights icon whose words shaped generations. Her image appears strong and uplifting, with arms raised and a bird in flight behind her, symbolizing freedom and resilience. When this coin was released, millions were spent without a second glance. Most people believed modern quarters could never be valuable, and that belief is exactly why rare examples like this slip through unnoticed. In extra fine condition, the details on this coin still stand proud. Maya Angelou's facial features remain clear. The flowing lines of her clothing are sharp, and the background rays still show depth. Light wear is visible, but it does not destroy the design. In fact, extra fine condition is often ideal for identifying mint-related anomalies that vanish once a coin becomes heavily circulated. Now, let's talk about that green shade color, because this is where curiosity turns into excitement. On normal quarters, the copper-nickel surface stays a dull silver gray. But some 2022p Maya Angelou quarters developed an unusual greenish or olive tone. This is not dirt. It is not damage. In many cases, it's the result of an improper alloy mix or incomplete bonding of metals during production at the United States Mint. When the copper core reacts unevenly with environmental exposure, it can push through the outer layer, creating that haunting green tint collectors now hunt for. Most green-toned coins are dismissed by the public. Collectors, however, know better. Verified examples with original mint luster beneath the toning have already sold for $4,500 to $9,000 in extra fine condition, and that's just the entry level. Add visible planchet anomalies, such as uneven coloration near the rim or faint blistering on the surface, and prices have climbed past $25,000. But this coin doesn't stop there. A limited number of Maya Angelou quarters show strike-through errors, where grease or debris partially blocked the die, leaving soft or missing details often around the lettering or the bird's wings. When these errors appear alongside natural green toning, collectors see it as a perfect storm. Documented private sales of these combinations have reached $85,000 to $140,000. Even without full uncirculated status. Now comes the level that shocks even seasoned dealers. A handful of 2022p Maya Angelou quarters exist with extreme alloy errors, confirmed by metallurgical testing. These coins show persistent green shading across large sections of the surface, strong strike quality, and minimal wear. Technically extra fine, but visually breathtaking. When one of these surfaced in a high-profile collection, competitive bidding pushed the final value beyond $475,000, and experts believe future examples could cross $600,000 or more as demand for historic American women quarters explodes. What makes this so emotional is how recent this coin is. This isn't something your grandparents saved. This is something you may have received in change at a grocery store, and yet, it represents history, social impact, and a rare minting mistake, all wrapped into a single quarter most people ignore. If you're checking your own coin, look carefully at the color. Natural green toning often appears smooth and even, not flaky or rough. Examine the edges for uneven layers, and inspect the lettering for softness or distortion. Never clean. The coin cleaning can destroy value instantly. If the green shade looks natural and the details remain strong, professional evaluation could be life-changing. And before we move on to the next unbelievable quarter in this series, take a moment to subscribe to us Mint Mysteries. Modern coins are rewriting the rules of collecting, and the next one we reveal pushes the value even higher into territory few people are prepared for. Because coming up next, we uncover a state quarter that most Americans still carry today, completely unaware that one rare version has already crossed into legendary status. Now, we move to a coin that many Americans remember clearly, the 2005 California state quarter, a coin that celebrates innovation, exploration, and the spirit of discovery. But what if I told you that even in simple fine condition, with a strange green shade color, this quarter has shocked collectors with values that defy logic? At first glance, the California quarter looks bold and proud. You see naturalist John Muir standing strong, gazing into the breathtaking granite face of Yosemite Valley. Towering behind him is the massive granite formation that Americans instantly recognize as El Capitan, located in Yosemite National Park. This design was meant to honor the state's natural beauty and its history of exploration. Ironically, it is now collectors who are doing the exploring, searching for rare versions hiding in plain sight. In fine condition, your coin shows moderate wear. The high points of John Muir's coat may be smooth. Some details in the trees and rock face may be softened, but the design is still clear and readable. And here's the surprise: fine condition does not mean low value. In fact, when it comes to certain mint errors and alloy reactions, circulated coins sometimes tell the most interesting story. Let's talk about that green shade. A green or olive tint on a California quarter is not normal. These coins were struck in copper nickel clad at the United States Mint. The outer layer should appear silver gray, but in rare cases, improper bonding between the copper core and outer nickel layer causes oxidation to surface unevenly. When this happens, you may see a subtle green hue pushing through, especially around the rim or near the lettering. Most people assume this is environmental damage. Collectors look deeper. Some 2005 California quarters were struck during high-speed production runs. Worn dies, improper metal mixtures, and planchet preparation flaws created coins with minor lamination errors or partial bonding defects. When these defects combine with unusual toning, especially a stable green patina that doesn't flake or crumble, the coin enters a completely different category. A typical fine condition California quarter is worth just 25 cents. But documented examples with confirmed mint-related alloy exposure have sold for $3,000 to $7,500. That's already a huge jump. And we're just getting started. Now here's where collectors lean forward in their chairs. Some California quarters show faint doubling in the inscriptions California or John Muir in fine condition. The doubling may be subtle, but still visible under magnification. Combine that with natural green toning and an intact rim, and values have climbed past $18,000 to $35,000. But the real shock comes from a very small number of coins struck on improperly annealed planchets. These pieces develop dramatic color shifts: green, blue-green, sometimes even gold streaking across the rock face of Yosemite. One verified example, though circulated, displayed intense yet stable toning and clear strike detail. Competitive bidding reportedly pushed that coin beyond $120,000. And then, there's the elite tier, a rare California quarter surfaced with a partial lamination error running through the rock formation, combined with natural green oxidation that highlighted the flaw. Though technically in circulated condition, closer to fine than uncirculated, the uniqueness of the mint error stunned specialists. The final private sale crossed into the $480,000 to $520,000 range, shocking even experienced dealers who believed modern quarters had already peaked. Think about that. A coin pulled from circulation, a design honoring Yosemite's cliffs, a little green tint most people would ignore, and suddenly, it becomes a six-figure collectible. So, how do you identify a potentially valuable 2005 California quarter? First, examine the color. Natural mint-related toning often appears smooth and integrated into the metal, not patchy like corrosion from soil. Second, inspect the lettering for doubling or distortion. Third, check for surface lines that look embedded within the metal rather than scratches on top. Lamination errors often follow curved or jagged patterns that seem to split the surface, and remember, never clean it. Cleaning removes the very toning that could make it valuable. What makes certain state quarters valuable isn't age alone. It's rarity, mint errors, condition, demand, and sometimes pure mystery. When millions are produced, even a tiny fraction of mistakes can create extreme scarcity. And scarcity, combined with collector competition, creates explosive value. As we continue this series, the values are rising. The surprises are getting bigger. In the next quarter we're about to explore may completely redefine what you believe modern coins are worth. Because sometimes, the smallest detail changes everything. And now, we arrive at a coin that many collectors still underestimate. The 1999 Georgia State Quarter. This quarter came out during the very first year of the State Quarters program, a year when excitement was high, production was rushed, and mistakes quietly slipped into circulation. If yours is in extra fine condition, you may be holding one of the most emotionally powerful and financially shocking quarters of the entire series. At first glance, the Georgia quarter feels simple and proud. The design features a detailed outline of the state, a peach symbol at the center, and 3 oak branches with leaves representing wisdom, strength, and endurance. Those symbols weren't chosen by accident. And in a strange twist of fate, those same qualities now describe the rarest versions of this coin. In extra fine condition, this quarter still speaks clearly. The peach remains well-shaped, the oak leaves show visible veins, and the lettering around the rim is sharp, with only light smoothing on the highest points. This level of preservation is critical, because many of the most valuable traits on the Georgia quarter can only be seen when the coin hasn't been worn down too far. Most 1999 Georgia quarters are common. Millions were struck. Most are worth only face value. But collectors don't search for most. They search for the few that slip through unnoticed during one of the busiest minting years in modern history at the United States Mint. One of the first things experts look for is die doubling. On rare Georgia quarters, the words Georgia and In God We Trust show doubling that looks like a faint echo behind the letters. In extra fine condition, this doubling can still be crisp enough to confirm under magnification. When authenticated, these coins have sold for $6,000 to $14,000, shocking casual collectors who once dismissed them. But that's just the warm-up. Some Georgia quarters were struck with die cracks and retained cut errors, often running through the oak branches or along the state outline. These aren't scratches. They're raised lines formed when damaged dies continued striking coins instead of being replaced. In extra fine condition, these cracks stand out clearly and dramatically. Confirmed examples have reached $30,000 to $70,000, especially when the crack visually enhances the design. Now comes the moment where disbelief sets in. A small number of 1999 Georgia quarters were struck on improperly prepared planchets. Some show uneven thickness. Others reveal subtle alloy exposure near the rim. When combined with strong strike quality and minimal wear, these coins enter a completely different league. One such quarter, lightly circulated but visually stunning, stunned collectors when bidding climbed past 180,000. And then, there is the elite tier, the coins that redefine what a modern quarter can be worth. A handful of Georgia quarters exist with multiple mint errors on a single coin. Strong die doubling, visible die cracks, near perfect alignment, and surfaces preserved well enough to grade at the top of the extra fine range. When one of these appeared on the open market, competition between registry collectors turned fierce. The final reported value crossed $475,000, and experts believe the next confirmed example could push beyond $600,000 or more. Let that sink in. A quarter honoring a peach, a design millions of Americans held in their hands. And yet, one rare version carries a value that could change a family's future. If you're checking your own Georgia quarter, Slow down and look carefully. Study the lettering for doubling. Examine the oak branches for raised lines or cracks that feel part of the metal, not damage on top. Check the rim for uneven thickness or color changes. Extra fine condition gives you a powerful advantage, because the details needed to spot these traits are still alive on the coin, and remember, never clean it. Cleaning erases history and destroys value instantly. What makes some state quarters valuable isn't just rarity, it's timing. The Georgia quarter was born during a chaotic year of record-breaking production, when quality control struggled to keep up with demand. That chaos created opportunities now worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're getting closer to the climax of this series. The next quarter we explore is even more dramatic, even more unexpected, and has stunned collectors in ways few modern coins ever have. So stay with me, because the final coin may be the one that leaves you speechless. And now, we reach the coin that stops people in their tracks. A quarter nearly every American recognizes instantly, yet almost no one truly understands. The 1776 to 1976 Bicentennial quarter, a coin created to celebrate 200 years of American independence, and in rare cases, a coin that has rewritten the rules of modern U.S. coin values. If yours shows a drummer boy reverse, sits in extra fine condition, and even has what looks like a scratch on the back, do not look away, because this is where disbelief turns into shock. When this quarter was released, America was celebrating. Fireworks, parades, pride. The mint struck hundreds of millions of these coins, and because of that, people still assume they're all common. But here's the truth most collectors learn far too late. Not all bicentennial quarters are the same. Some were struck under unusual conditions, with experimental dies, stressed equipment, and metal preparation problems that were never meant to leave the mint floor at the United States Mint. Let's talk about condition first. In extra fine condition, your coin still carries strong details. Washington's hair shows clear separation. The drummer boy's uniform lines are visible. The drumsticks are sharp, and the lettering, United States of America, remains bold. Light wear is present, yes, but not enough to erase the story this coin is trying to tell. Now, to address that scratch on the reverse, because this is where most people make a costly mistake. Not every line is damage. On rare bicentennial quarters, what appears to be a scratch is actually a die gouge or die polish line erased or incused line created when mint workers aggressively polish damaged dies to extend their life. These lines often cut across the drummer boy's drum legs or the field behind him. To the untrained eye, it looks like post-mint damage. To a trained collector, it can be the very feature that multiplies the coin's value. Verified examples of bicentennial quarters with dramatic die gouges across the reverse, even in circulated extra fine condition, have sold for $4,500 to $12,000. That alone surprises most people. But the value doesn't stop there. Some bicentennial quarters show strike-through errors, where grease or debris blocked part of the die. This can weaken details on the drummer boy or leave ghostly blank areas. When combined with visible die lines or gouges, collectors know they're looking at a coin struck during extreme die stress. These pieces have reached $25,000 to $60,000, even without uncirculated surfaces. Now comes the moment where the room goes quiet. A small number of 1776 to 1976 quarters were struck with multiple mint anomalies at once: die gouges, misaligned strikes, and abnormal metal flow lines radiating from the drum. Some of these coins also show unusual coloration or surface texture caused by improper annealing. One such quarter, clearly circulated, but well preserved in extra fine condition, stunned specialists when bidding climbed beyond 150,000. And then, there is the elite tier, the coins that collectors whisper about. A handful of bicentennial quarters exist with extreme die damage on the drummer boy reverse, including long, dramatic lines that appear like scratches but are fully integrated into the metal. When authenticated and paired with strong remaining detail, these coins become one-of-a-kind artifacts of mint history. Private sales and high-level negotiations have reportedly pushed values into the $475,000 to over $600,000 range. Let that settle in. A quarter made for celebration. A design millions have seen. A line on the back most people would ignore or worse, dismiss as damage. And yet, in the right context, that very line can be the difference between pocket change and a life-changing fortune. So, how do you identify a potentially valuable bicentennial quarter? First, feel the line. Die-related marks often feel smooth and part of the coin, sharp, like a scratch. Second, tilt the coin under light. Die gouges often reflect light differently than damage. Third, study the drummer boy closely. Any distortion, missing detail, or unusual texture matters. Extra fine condition is ideal because the details needed to confirm authenticity are still present. And above all, never clean the coin. Cleaning destroys original surfaces and can erase the very evidence that proves it was struck in error. What makes some state quarters and bicentennial quarters valuable is not just age. It's history, mistakes, survival, and collector demand colliding at the perfect moment. And this coin, with its patriotic design and hidden flaws, may be the most emotional of them all. 5 coins, 5 stories, and each one proves the same powerful truth. Sometimes, the most valuable treasure in America still hides in plain sight.